Guys, so I feel a bit unfortunate, to have, like hanging around like this, keeping my feet up against the wardrobe. Yeah. Oh, I'm falling down. But the thing is, in my local area, running is viewed very negatively, and I noticed this quite a while ago, and I was surprised because I went to a boarding school where running was seen as quite a popular thing. Then I moved in here, and I was expecting running to be viewed kind of popularly, viewed positively around here, and I was in for a bit of a shock. It was viewed very negatively. People were like angry at me for going out running, and I was like, what the hell? There's a few people. Postman, one guy. I'm not sure if he hates me for being a runner or anything like that, but he seemed to think running is very strange or something. He's like some of the stairs I got. I was walking past him. Sorry, I was out for a run and I ran past the postman one day and I was going to wave to him and say hi, but he kind of blanked me, so I was like, oh, alright, okay, don't bother then. But I ran past him and I turned around and I saw him staring down at my legs. He's like, and I'm like, yeah, it's called running, Like you're a postman, you walk around. I'm doing what you're doing, but just do it a little bit faster. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe there's something wrong with my calves. I don't know. That's one minor example. Uh, the lollipop lady down the road in the park Camatili. Sometimes I'd be out running, and she'd look at me and she'd have this really disappointed look in her face, looking at me, and I'm like, what's wrong with me running? Or maybe she's sad because she's like, oh, he's out running. I wish I could just run away from this job and do something else, but I'm stuck here. You know what I mean? Maybe that's it, but that's a bit unlikely because if she wanted to leave that job, she could. Don't be a pussy. And you know, she just gave me this disappointed look, and I'd be like, "What the hell? I'm out for a run. Is there anything wrong with that?" Do you know what I mean? That's a bit weird. And I don't understand what they have against me running, but then there's this really, really strange old woman who lives in my area. Now she was too friendly to me when I first moved in. I mean, scary. I was like, Jesus, who the fuck is this bitch? And I was remember I was walking. I think I moved here when I was 16. I was walking down the road. I think I was heading towards the shop, and this woman comes over and she asked me to take something out of her car. I do that, and then I walk off, and I was like, that's a bit weird. And I mean, she seemed like quite friendly towards me, which is weird. I didn't want. I was like, Jesus, get away from me! Don't do that. That's just odd. And then one day I was out running in Killiney Hill, and I was running and I saw her walking towards me in the opposite direction, and she just had this look of disappointment, and she looked kind of pissed off. She was looking down at my legs when I was running. I was like, okay, can I not run down the road without you staring at me like that? And that's quite odd. Then another time I was walking down the street and she saw me. She gave me this really angry look. She's like, and I was like, what the fuck? That just looks like some 2 year old sulking. I mean, come on, how old are you? Jesus. And then another time I was at Dean's Grange Library and I was doing something on the computer and I turn around and I see her sitting down on a chair on the phone to someone, give me this really angry look. She's like, and I'm like, what? What is wrong with this bitch? But good thing is I don't really see her around very often. Like, thank God. That's one of the big advantages of modern living. People don't really go outside much. They don't explore their local area like they used to. They don't walk down to the shops, or the pubs, or the post office, or I don't know, the vegetable markets or whatever anymore. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, now you can just you have the benefit of them not giving you abuse the whole time, which is pretty good. Um, and then there's this weird old man, and he's got this dog called Phoebe, and I first noticed him when I was walking down. I think I was walking down the streets to the shop when I was new to the area, and this guy, he lets his dog off the lead sometimes, and his dog, his greyhound Phoebe, ran up towards me, and the old man runs over and screams, "Phoebe, Phoebe, get back here!" And he's like screaming as loud as he could, and I was like, Jesus, man, this guy's a lunatic. And and I noticed that sometimes I was walking down the street past this guy with his dog called Phoebe. He'd be walking, he'd be walking past, and he'd see me, he'd be looking away. Do you know what I mean? I'll be like, I'd be staring at him while he's looking away, and I'll be like confused. I'll be like, what the hell is this guy doing? This is weird. And I couldn't understand it for a while. And he did that to me like a few times, and then I decided to challenge him one day. When I was out for a run, I decided to just make direct eye contact with him and see what his reaction is. And he gave me this really kind of angry look and looked away, and I was like, okay, this guy's not very friendly, so I'm not going to make eye contact anymore. Making eye contact is like an intrusion. It's like invading his privacy or something. And I always got the idea that this guy was a bit of a prick or something. And one day I was walking up the road past this old man's house, and there was like construction workers at his house, and they were all doing something. And the construction workers kind of asked him a question, and I was like, "Oh, guys, shut up, shut up! He's going to start shouting at you. Jesus, this is going to be very unpleasant." But then, to my surprise, the old man answered the question very politely, and I was like, "Jesus, that's a bit weird." And then I started thinking, "Does this guy have something against me? Like I don't even know the guy. Like what the hell, you know?" And then one day I shaved my head. This was September 2017, so just over 2 years ago. And one day I was cycling down to the Phoenix Park for some cross country, the Dublin Novice, where I came second. And I was cycling down, minding my own business, expecting nothing out of the ordinary to happen. And I see the old man. He's standing in his front garden. He folds his arm and he starts smiling at me and nodding at me. He's like, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm just staring at him like, what the fuck? And I was on my way over to the Phoenix Park. I was kind of scratching my head. I was like, gee, what was that about? You know what I mean? And a couple of days later, I was out for a run. I was running up Sycamore Grove, the road this old man lives on. He lives maybe like a 3 minute walk down the road from me, so he's not doesn't live far away or anything. And I was running up the hill, and I just saw him running through his front garden onto the street, and he stood on the street on the top of the hill, staring at me like. And I was like, okay. I kind of looked away for a second, and then I looked back at him, and he had his hands on his hips, and he was staring down at my legs, going. I'm like, okay. I mean, that was a very weird moment. I think because I shaved my head, he didn't recognize me. Because this guy has something against distance runners, and that's why he was, trying to avoid making eye contact with me. Because he's like, oh, he's a distance runner. I don't like distance runners, so I'm going to stay away from that. But which is kind of weird because, I actually saw him out running one day himself. And he was running like an absolute gobshite. I mean, he was sprinting up his hill going, he looked like he was in pain, like he was about to die or something. And I was just looking at him like, what a gobshite. Do you know what I mean? And so it's okay for you to go out and run, but when I do it, it's wrong. That's just weird. I don't understand that. So yeah, I've got my fair share of weird people around my area. I don't see them around too often, apart from the old man with his dog Phoebe. The funny thing is though, I nearly always see that guy out like nearly every day when it's warm and sunny. He'd be out in front of his house doing construction work. He'd be walking his dog Phoebe. And it's kind of funny when he's talking to Phoebe when I'm not around, or when Phoebe's not off the lead. He's like, "Oh, Phoebe, come here," and I'm like, "Jesus, that's weird." And do you know what I mean? So yeah, I see that quite a lot. It's sunny, but when it gets cold and frosty, like today, I never see him. He's too much of a coward to go out in cold weather, unpleasant weather. Do you know what I mean?